Welcome back to Value Growth Index. My name is Joseph, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my favorite company, one of the only stocks I own. And if I'm correct, this company should have a 2,000% upside. I know it sounds crazy, but if you do want this return, you're going to have to be very patient. Well, I won't hold you any longer until I'll tell you what the stock is. This stock is Palantir. Now, this stock I'm very, very bullish on. What is Palantir? Well, Palantir is a data analytics company that collects data from other companies and uses their own artificial intelligence to produce a very efficient answer. So let's get right into it. What does Palantir do? How do they operate? Well, Palantir operates under two main businesses. First is Gotham. Gotham operates with governments around the world, mainly defense and intelligence agencies. What they do is collect data from millions of inputs that these agencies collect, and now Palantir collects them into their data farms, which we'll get into later. They collect their data and they find hidden patterns within those millions and millions of inputs. And this they help produce and visualize data in the most efficient solutions. But unfortunately with Gotham, we don't really know too much else because they do work with governments. So they really try to keep how they operate very secret due to the secretive nature of defense and intelligence agencies. But what really gets me excited is Palantir Foundry. Palantir Foundry is the commercial use of this software. Palantir believes that companies are basically inefficient with their data. They don't think that they can really utilize the data to the most efficient ways. So they take their AI and they implement it into the companies they're contracted with. They help find patterns and make the most efficient decisions by taking every bit of data the company has to offer, whether it be from supply chains to customer service to sales online to cost of moving products. Palantir Foundry is the most scalable part of their business. This is because of the constant innovation throughout the country and throughout the world, and businesses constantly being built and destroyed and moving on. They have the biggest opportunity within these commercial uses. But what really makes Palantir special is they offer the most extensive way to use your data. They're the most customizable, most personalizable. They offer the most in-depth micro and macro views of this data. So you want to view into one store or one area of your retail stores. Now this applies to any kind of business. So banks, stores, ExxonMobil, gas companies. It goes across the board. So you want to look down at what this one area is doing. Say you want to look at anything in Texas. You see your Texas operations, you can break it down into there, or you can want to go just in Houston, you can look at Houston. Or if you want to go across the country, you can go across the country. You want to go across the world, you can go across the world. It really offers a different way of looking at this data. And it connects all those points of data. So you can use that data from one store to connect and find a pattern with across the whole business. You see something that's working really well in that business and Palantir notices it. Palantir will flag it. Now this is just all examples. But Palantir will flag it basically and say, this is efficient and this is what we should be doing. And now you can bring that into the larger scale of the business, and Palantir will help adjust along as you go. Now, the most interesting part about Palantir is the data farms. This is really, really where I believe Palantir can scale its business to become one of the biggest, if not the biggest company in the world. Data farms are where you collect data from anybody they're contracted with. So if they work with BP or Amazon or whatever, they take the data that they collect. Now they put it into their own storage in a sense. And they sit there and their AI runs through it. And as they want to make decisions, they can pull from that data. So say you work with BP and you collect all the BP's data. Now Amazon wants to make a decision. Well, they want to utilize that data that you've collected and those patterns, not who it's from, the patterns you've collected. They can request from Palantir, say, hey, can we use some of your data? Palantir will then send them over encrypted and encoded data, so you don't know where it's coming from, what sector, what anything. They will send the data over, or the decisions that they believe are right, that the AI believe are right, and you can implement it into your own business through Palantir. This is something that's going to be revolutionary, because what really can get Palantir going, and I really do believe they will be because of who they're working with and the size of their contracts. If Palantir becomes a better business by more data they collect, it becomes a very, very aggressive cycle, and a cycle that I like a lot. So if Palantir becomes gets a new contract with a new company. They collect their data. That data now makes them more efficient. Well, that more efficient data analytics now brings in new customers. Those new customers improve their data analytics. Their data analytics get better. They produce a better product. Better product brings on new customers. And it's a cycle. It just keeps going. And that's what's so great about data. Data and technology is exponential. So the more you collect and the more you use and the more you improve on, it becomes exponentially better every single time. That's what really gets me excited about Palantir, is they're not working with small companies. Well, we will, but into a second. They're not only working with small companies, they're working with companies such as Amazon, BP, JP Morgan. These are Goliath companies. They're not something small. But speaking of small companies, now this is what I think is very, very interesting move on Palantir's part, is they started Palantir Startup. It's basically where they're going to do a very customizable product to startup companies. And these companies need data. These companies are companies that really, they struggle to get their feet on the ground with great ideas. But if Palantir can offer this data, these revolutionary companies that they believe, you get to be part of, and equity or whatever you want to call it, however they work out their contracts, but you now can help create other revolutionary companies as well. Palantir is going to be no joke of a company. I genuinely believe Palantir is going to become the Mike Tyson of all data companies or all software companies. They're going to be heavy hitters and they're going to be a must-needed company in the future. You want to grow your company? Okay, well, you need data to survive. You need to be able to make the most efficient decisions. You're not going to be able to, in 10 years, you're not going to be able to outthink a computer. Palantir gets to be part of improving and creating revolutionary companies across the globe. This is something Palantir's in a very unique position to be able to do this. And I genuinely believe as Palantir can work itself into these revolutionary companies, it extends their reach as well. And startups tend to be the most aggressive growth companies. Palantir's making all the right decisions in my belief. And if you look at their balance sheet, yes, they're at a net loss, but they're a growth company. They want to reinvest that money back into the business. They want to reinvest into research and development. With interest rates so low, why would you want to pay down debt? If they can easily afford to pay their debts. It's very manageable. They use Gotham. They use the government to fund their business. Basically, they don't have much debt. Very smart on their part. And then to wrap it up, we're going to talk about the two biggest advantages that Palantir really has compared to its competitors. Between the privacy and the security. Privacy, all of the data that's collected is encoded and encrypted. Like I was saying before, if Amazon wants to utilize data from those data farmers that collect the data, when they receive that data, they don't know who it's coming from, when it's coming from. They don't know anything about it. All they know is that this is the best decision to make according to Palantir's AI. So basically, you don't have companies when you want to with their competitors, you can't cross-pool data. You can't pull from other companies. And when you can make more efficient decisions because you can secretly and privately use everybody's data, that becomes a huge leg up in the market. If every contract you use and every data you collect, you're collecting data from JP Morgan, you're collecting data from Amazon, BP, you're collecting data from these Goliath companies, that is going to be the gold of the future. So to collect that, and really that's where your business is modeled after, and that's what you constantly collect from the most important companies in the world, right off of there, Palantir will automatically basically become one of the top companies in the world because they work with all the top company in the world's data. It's just for me, it's very simple to say. If you work with the most important companies in the world and they trust you with your data and you can analyze their data and use it and keep improving it for yourself, eventually you're gonna find yourself up in the top of the chain. Palantir has to have the top-notch security at all times because they work with government intelligence agencies. They have to have top-tier security. And for a $40 billion market cap company, they're one of 4 software companies with intelligence level 5 clearance with the Department of Defense. One of 4 software companies with that level of clearance. This is no joke security. They need to make sure that if the governments are gonna work with these companies, they have to have top of the line security. Nobody can do it better, nobody can hack it, nobody can decrypt it. It has to be the best of the best. And Palantir does. Palantir's constantly getting contracts renewed by the government, and the governments like what Palantir did and what they do. Palantir was also one of the companies that helped find Osama bin Laden. This is not a joke of a company. This is no joke for security or privacy. This is what really makes Palantir unique, is that and their data farms. So based on this, I genuinely believe that Palantir will become one of the biggest businesses. The better they become, the more data they collect, and the better they become, more people are going to sign on to them. And if you want to compete against Amazon or BP or JP Morgan, you're not going to be able to make better decisions in 10 years than Palantir will. You're going to be forced almost to use Palantir. And if you don't use Palantir, or some miracle company comes and somehow competes, you're going to die out. Palantir, I genuinely believe, will either be a $1 trillion company, which will put a $500 price target, but I genuinely believe, I don't think it's going to be a $1 trillion company. I think it's going to be much, much higher. Alex Karp, the CEO, said if you're patient, we want to be the biggest software company in the world. That's true. We take Microsoft at a $2 trillion company, 10 years, say that he even hit $3 trillion, Microsoft. And Palantir wants to be bigger than that. Say it competes with Microsoft and they're a $3 trillion company. That's a $1,500 price target. I know it sounds absurd, but data is exponential. And if you're patient enough, I really do believe this stock and this company will be a huge payout for those who are patient. And if you want to see more, I wrote about it's like a 5.5, 6-page paper on Palantir. It's more in depth than what I was talking about. We're going to link that down. It's going to be linked to we're going to put it on LinkedIn. It's going to be a LinkedIn article if you want to see. It's free to read. I write these things. I make these videos to help people learn and help people really think. And to clarify, I am not a financial advisor, but I want to help you guys open your minds and help you think for yourselves and find, maybe even if you don't pick Palantir, pick any stocks know what I talk about. We want to get the ball rolling in your head. That's the goal of this channel. We're not financial advisors, but we really want you guys to think for yourselves and really do these things on your own. But with that being said, I appreciate if you guys watched this whole video. And if you buy Palantir, let's go. If not, hopefully you find the stock for you.